Imagine two people, same age, same starting salary, same city. By the time they both turn 40, one of them is quietly wealthy, not flashy, not famous, just free. Free to choose their work, their time, their life. The other one? Still living paycheck to paycheck, not because they didn't earn enough, not because they were unlucky, but because nobody ever told them which financial moves actually mattered. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us were handed a financial checklist that was completely wrong. We were told to get a good job, buy a house, save a little, and somehow it would all work out. But it doesn't just work out. There are specific milestones, not the ones Instagram shows you, not the ones your parents talked about, but real psychological and financial turning points that separate people who build wealth before 40 from people who wonder where all the money went. Today, we're going through all 10 of them, and I promise you, some of these will surprise you. Here's the problem with how most people think about financial progress. We tend to measure success by the wrong things. A new car, a bigger apartment, a vacation we posted online. We confuse spending with arriving. We mistake looking wealthy for being wealthy. And then there's the age pressure. Society has this invisible clock ticking. By 30, you should have this. By 35, you should have that. And if you haven't checked those boxes, something must be wrong with you. But most of those boxes, they're either about appearances or they're completely out of order. The people who actually build wealth before 40 don't necessarily earn more than everyone else. What they do differently is hit the right milestones in roughly the right sequence. Like building a house, if you skip the foundation and go straight to the roof, the whole thing collapses. So let's build this the right way. 1. You understand where your money actually goes. This sounds boring. Stay with me. Most people have a rough idea of what they earn. Almost nobody has a clear picture of where it all disappears. Studies consistently show that people underestimate their spending, especially on small, frequent purchases, by 30 to 40%. That coffee, the subscriptions you forgot about, the impulse order at 11 p.m., it doesn't feel like much, but psychologists call this money blindness, and it's one of the most expensive conditions a person can have. The first milestone isn't about cutting everything, it's about seeing clearly, because you cannot fix what you cannot see. Spend 1 month, just one, tracking every single dollar, not to punish yourself, just to wake up. When you finally see the full picture, something shifts inside you, and that shift is worth more than any budgeting app. 2. You've broken the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Here's the quiet crisis nobody talks about openly. A huge portion of people, even people earning 6 figures, are one bad month away from a serious financial problem, an unexpected medical bill, a car repair, a job loss, and suddenly everything falls apart. This milestone is about creating distance between you and financial disaster. It's not about being rich, it's about building a small buffer that changes how you feel about money entirely. Even having a few $100s set aside rewires your relationship with money. The anxiety drops. The reactive decisions, like taking on bad debt because you had no choice, start to disappear. The paycheck to paycheck trap is psychological as much as it is financial, and escaping it, even partially, is a genuine turning point. 3. You've built a real emergency fund, different from the buffer we just talked about. This is 3 to 6 months of your actual living expenses, sitting somewhere safe, liquid, and untouched. Most people treat this as boring advice they'll get to eventually. Here's why it's actually one of the most powerful things you can do. Think of the emergency fund not as savings, think of it as options insurance. When you have it, you don't have to take the wrong job because you're desperate. You don't have to sell your investments at the worst moment. You don't have to go into debt when life happens. Wealthy people don't avoid problems. They have the cushion to survive problems without being permanently derailed by them.
4. You've killed your high-interest debt. Credit card debt is a machine designed to keep you poor, and that's not an exaggeration. If you're carrying a balance at 20 or 25% interest, which is completely normal in America, and your investments are growing at maybe 8 to 10% a year, you are mathematically running backward. Every month, you're pouring water into a bucket that has a massive hole in the bottom. There's also a psychological cost that rarely gets mentioned. Debt creates a low-level chronic stress that clouds your thinking, your confidence, and your willingness to take smart risks. It's like trying to run a race with a weight vest on. Eliminating high-interest debt before 40 isn't just financially smart, it's the mental and emotional liberation that unlocks everything else on this list. 5. You've started investing, and you've kept going. Not just opened an account, not just bought something once and forgot about it, actually investing consistently over time. Here is the concept that changes everything, and yet most people only half understand it. Compound growth. Let me give you a simple picture. If you invest just $300 a month starting at age 25 at a historical average market return, you could have over $700,000 by 55. Wait until 35 to start that same habit? You might end up with less than half that. The math is almost unfair. Time is the most powerful ingredient, and you cannot borrow it, buy it, or get it back. The specific investment vehicle matters less than the habit of starting and continuing. Whether it's a 401k, a Roth IRA, or a simple index fund, the most important step is getting in the game and staying there, especially when the market scares you, because it will scare you. And the people who don't panic, they're the ones who actually benefit. 6. Your employer's free money isn't being left on the table. This one physically hurts me when people miss it. If your employer offers a 401k match and you are not contributing enough to get the full match, you are turning down free money. Actual, literal free money as part of your compensation that you earned. A 50% match on your first 6% contribution is an instant 50% return on that money before it even gets invested. No stock, no crypto, no business deal in the world reliably gives you that immediately. Millions of Americans leave billions of dollars in employer matches unclaimed every single year. Before 40, this milestone should be closed. Contribute at least enough to get every dollar your employer is willing to give you. 7. You've had an honest conversation about money with yourself. This one is different, and it might be the most important one on the list. Every one of us grew up with stories about money. Maybe money was always scarce and scary in your house. Maybe it was never discussed. Maybe you watched someone close to you make terrible financial decisions, and it quietly shaped how you behave today. Psychologists call these money scripts, the unconscious beliefs running underneath every financial decision you make. Things like, rich people are greedy, or I'm just not good with money, or spending money is how I feel good about myself. These scripts operate invisibly, and they are responsible for more financial self-sabotage than any market crash or economic downturn. Before 40, taking a hard, honest look at your relationship with money, not just your accounts, but your beliefs, is one of the most valuable things you can do. Therapy, journaling, honest conversations, reading about behavioral finance, whatever it takes to see the patterns you've been running on autopilot. You can't outperform a broken money mindset with a better spreadsheet. 8. Your money is working while you sleep. At some point, you have to cross a line. The line where some meaningful portion of your income is no longer coming directly from your time and labor. This doesn't mean you quit working. It means you've started building. Investments that pay dividends, a side project that generates some revenue, maybe a rental property, something that produces income that is at least partially decoupled from your hours. This is the beginning of financial freedom, not the end, the beginning. And crossing this line before 40 sets you up for a completely different second half of your financial life. The wealthy understand something most people don't. There are only so many hours you can sell. Wealth gets built when you start owning things that generate returns. 9. You've had a financial plan put on actual paper. Not in your head, not a vague intention, an actual written plan. What are you working toward? What does your life cost now? What do you need it to cost in the future? When do you want options to slow down or stop working entirely? How much do you need to make that happen?
Research on goal setting consistently shows that people who write down specific financial goals are significantly more likely to achieve them than people who keep it all in their head. Writing creates commitment. It forces clarity. It turns a dream into a target. Your plan doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't need a financial advisor's stamp of approval. It just needs to exist, and it needs to be revisited regularly as your life changes. A ship with a destination, even an imperfect one, will always arrive somewhere better than a ship just drifting. 10. You've defined what enough actually means to you. This is the one most people never reach, even after they've done everything else. Here's the quiet tragedy of modern financial culture. Nobody ever tells you when you've won. The goalpost keeps moving. You make more, you spend more, you need more. You climb one ladder only to discover there's another one right behind it. There's a concept called hedonic adaptation. Your brain gets used to your new income level, your new house, your new car, usually within a few months, and resets back to a baseline feeling of wanting more. It's not a character flaw, it's human wiring. The people who find actual financial peace before 40 are the ones who have sat down and genuinely answered the question, what does a great life actually cost me? Not a perfect life, not an Instagram life, their life, the one that feels meaningful and full. When you know that number, everything simplifies. You stop chasing in circles. You start making decisions that actually move you towards something real. Here's the deeper idea that ties all 10 of these milestones together. Building wealth before 40 is not primarily a math problem. It's a psychology problem. The math of personal finance is genuinely simple. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference consistently, stay out of high-interest debt, give it time. That's basically it. But simple isn't the same as easy, and the reason most people don't do it isn't ignorance, it's behavior. We are wired as human beings to prefer immediate rewards over future ones. We are wired to compare ourselves to the people around us. We are wired to avoid thinking about money because it produces anxiety. We are wired to feel wealthy when we spend, even when spending is quietly destroying our future options. Every single milestone on this list is, at its core, a victory over one of these psychological patterns. Tracking your spending is a victory over money blindness. Building an emergency fund is a victory over short-term thinking. Defining enough is a victory over the endless comparison trap. The people who build real wealth before 40 are not financial geniuses. They are people who learn to understand themselves just well enough to stop getting in their own way. So here's what to actually do with all of this. Don't try to tackle all 10 at once. That's a recipe for overwhelm and zero action. Instead, ask yourself honestly, which one of these milestones am I furthest from right now? What is the single biggest gap between where I am and where I need to be? Start there, just there. Make it your entire focus for the next 90 days. Because here's what the research on behavior change consistently shows. People who try to change everything at once change nothing. But people who pick one thing and pursue it relentlessly, they create momentum. And momentum in personal finance is one of the most powerful forces there is. A small win builds confidence. Confidence fuels the next step. And before long, you look back and realize the distance you've actually covered. I want to leave you with one final thought. The goal of hitting these milestones before 40 isn't to become obsessed with money. It's actually the opposite. When your financial foundation is solid, when you have a cushion, when your debt is gone, when your money is growing, when you know what you're working toward, money stops being something you worry about every day. It fades into the background, and in its place, you get something money can't buy on its own: mental freedom. The ability to make choices from strength instead of desperation. The ability to say yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones. That's what financial milestones are really about. Not numbers on a screen, not a bigger house or a fancier car. Freedom, clarity, options. You have time, but not unlimited time. And the version of you at 40 is being built right now by the decisions you make today, this week, this year. Which milestone are you starting with?